Hi, guys. Last night I was interviewed by America's Voice News by Christina Aguayo, and we thought that we would have a little bit of an introduction to that piece. It's a very short piece, about 15-20 minutes, but it is a good summary of really what's going on, and it was a good interview. Also discussed a few other things, and then at the end of this video, I want to clarify a couple of components. I want to tell you something and show you another short video right after that. That's about 2 minutes, so that you get a visual frame of reference of actually what's going on. It was a video that was done by somebody else. I'm not sure who it was, and I'm going to use it, and the credit goes to someone else. I just don't know who to credit it to because they didn't put their name or anything on it. It was sent to me, so it is not our video, but it is a great description, a visual description of what's really going on. And also, this video will serve as an announcement that starting tonight at 8 p.m. New York time, Part 6 is going to be released of the COVID-19 Conspiracy ? Empowering Yourself. Now, it is kind of long, so we are breaking it up into 4 parts, and the entire Part 6 will be available on the Advanced Medicine dashboard. If you've already registered there, all you do is just go to advancedmedicine.com and enter in your email, password, and register in there. If you haven't ever gone there to register, you will not be able to get in there without an invitation code. So all you have to do, please follow the instructions. Everybody's going to get confused, and all you have to do is go to the description of this video that you're seeing right now on YouTube. Just go to the description and click on the link, and it will take you there. That's all you got to do. That link may be what you're seeing below you right now, askdrbuttar.com/ask. Or it might end up being something different. It may be askdrbuttar.com/livestream. I'm not sure yet. Just go to the description on the video and click on that link, and it'll take you there. All right. And it doesn't matter. You can actually just you can even go to this one, askdrbuttar.com/ask. It doesn't make any difference. You'll be able to get there. The point being, again, that the full Part 6 will be there, but we will be breaking it up into 4 different parts on YouTube so that in case it gets censored, at least some of them may be there, and we'll go forward. So enjoy this video. At the end, there'll be another short video and then a little closing message where I clarify a couple of things. Hope you enjoy.
Well, today we have a very special guest joining us on the show today. He is Dr. Rashid Buttar. He is an osteopathic physician and also the author of the best-selling book, 9 Steps to Keep the Doctor Away. Welcome, Dr. Buttar. So nice to have you on the show today.
Nice to meet you, Christina.
Okay, so we have a lineup of questions that I wanted to ask you, but something broke just moments before we came on air here, and it's an article written by Robert F. Kennedy. We've had Dr. Shiva on the show before, and I just want to read you this headline. You brought this to my attention moments before we came on show. Critical questions for Dr. Shiva about his attempts to splinter the health freedom movement. And if you scroll up in the article just a short ways, you see your name there, Dr. Rashid Buttar. What is your experience here with Robert F. Kennedy? We know that Dr. Shiva has been very outspoken against Kennedy, and then your experience with Dr. Shiva as well.
Well, my experience with Robert Kennedy is that he's a hero of the movement. He has ostracized members of his own family and friends by being outspoken and standing up for the rights of children, for those that don't have a voice. And he's been attacked mercilessly for that. So he's a great guy. I know him on a personal level. I know him on many different levels. And when our first video that basically I was interviewed by Next News Network, it went to 9.1 million views in 6 days, and then YouTube started censoring it. More and more people started asking the question, why is this being censored? And that's the time when I put out some more videos. And bottom line was that there were a lot of people that were sending me messages saying that you should get involved with Dr. Shiva. I didn't really know who Dr. Shiva was. His office reached out to us last week, and we had a conversation, and I can only tell you that the experience that I had was not consistent with a neurologically intact individual. Either he'd had some type of a head injury or there was something wrong. The language that he used, the foul language that he used, his behavior, his narcissistic behavior. In fact, we have the whole conversation, most of the conversation actually recorded. But I have not addressed him. I haven't talked about him at all because he's not worth the time. I did not want to really say anything negative about him simply because I thought he was, his message, part of his message may be beneficial because he's at least for the health freedom movement. Now I come to find out that he's a fraud. You've read the information, the references. His company, Cytosolve, is partners with Pfizer, which is the fourth largest manufacturer of vaccines on the planet. His company, Ecomail, was the company that partnered with the Clintons in the White House when they were in power in the presidency and helped to propel them to the value of that company being over 200 million. The references are right there. And now I realize that this guy has nothing to offer the movement. And my reason for not calling him out was because I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And if he's got a message that could help the movement, then I'm not going to attack him. Now I know, once you've identified, I'm prior military, once you identify who the enemy is, then that enemy needs to be taken out. And this guy, he's corrupt, he's a fraud, and I'm going to, this is a public announcement that I will take him on any public debate forum that he wants, and I'll be happy to address any of his questions and debate him on any of these issues, and play the audio of his conversation with me that was a week ago. So he has thrown down the gauntlet, and as far as I'm concerned, he's damaging the movement. He's counterinsurgents. He's projecting his own inadequacies onto other people to attack people like Bobby Kennedy, or to attack, you want to attack me, fine, attack me, but you attack people like Bobby Kennedy and Del Bigtree and some of the other people that have sacrificed so much. And I think that everybody that knows me knows why I'm doing this. And we'll put out a video that shows when I testified in front of Congress in 2004, my motivation. And we've treated over 3,800 children worldwide in my own clinic, as well as other doctors who used our protocol to treat children with autism. I've testified before the U.S. Congressional Subcommittee on Human Rights and Wellness in 2004. I don't know who this character was when he popped out of nowhere, but I do know that now his reason for having popped out. He has nothing to serve the movement, and the movement is about empowerment of parents and about stopping the poisoning of our future, of our children.
Well, and as you know, we've talked before the show, and Dr. Shiva was on this show. You've probably seen the video of that. And I welcome both of you. He has challenged people to debates, and I welcome both of you to come back to this show and have a debate. We would love to have you and get everything out there, maybe go in depth more on this article and what's actually really going on here. I welcome you to do that. And I thank you for sharing that with us and addressing this breaking news coming in, this article that was written about this. Now, you have been very outspoken about the coronavirus, how it originated, and the role Dr. Fauci has played in terms of that $3.7 million that the NIH gave to a laboratory in Wuhan, China. Can you explain to our viewers how all of this is connected?
In 2014, the U.S. government passed a moratorium on chimeric research, preventing the manipulation of pathogens that had a potential for a pandemic, as brought to the attention of the government by certain virologists who were very against the chimeric adulteration of natural pathogens, bacteria, viruses, whatever the case may be. Dr. Fauci, being in his position, having a directorship at the National Institute of Health, was in a position of being able to obviously know about this moratorium, but bypassed the moratorium the following year after it was passed, and then funded $3.7 million to this lab in Wuhan. Now, the extent of the information that I had was really up to that point. What apparently now there seems to be is that this extension of money was at the behest of the President of the United States at that time, President Obama. Now, I don't have any firsthand knowledge of this. I only am going by what apparently the hacks that were, the hacking of the World Health Organization, the CDC, the Bill Gates Foundation, what those documents seem to have shown. I have not seen those myself. That's what I have heard. But I am only aware of Dr. Fauci funding, releasing against the U.S. government moratorium in 2014 and releasing that money to a foreign country. And in actuality, that to me is an act of treason.
Okay, so Dr. Fauci has been at the forefront of this coronavirus outbreak in terms of being on the coronavirus task force team. Him and Birx, the experts came out with these models. If you remember, if we can pull the bell curve up on the screen, it was the top of the bell curve was 2.2 million people predicted to die from the outbreak if nothing was done, right? And then in best case scenario, they predicted 100,000 people would die, and this was on total lockdown, social distancing. At last checked, 57,000 deaths have been attributed to coronavirus. So not nearly those numbers, but those models have changed a number of times. The predictions have constantly changed. And now these death count numbers are coming under heavy scrutiny, especially because doctors across the nation have come forward and they're starting to reveal that they're being pressured to classify all deaths as coronavirus deaths, even if the person didn't die from coronavirus. I want you to listen to just a few sound bites of doctors talking about this and one health department director. And again, this is just a few of many. Take a listen.
When I'm writing up my death report, I'm being pressured to add COVID. Why is that? Why are we being pressured to add COVID to maybe increase the numbers and make it look a little bit worse than it is? I think so.
If you were in hospice and had already been given, a few weeks to live, and then you also were found to have COVID, that would be counted as a COVID death. It means that even if you died of a clear alternate cause, but you had COVID at the same time, it's still listed as a COVID death.
I received an email last week from the Department of Health coaching me on how to fill out death certificates. They were saying, you don't have to have a confirmed laboratory test for COVID-19 in order to make the death certificate be COVID-19.
What are your thoughts on this, Dr. Buttar? Are the death count cases, the numbers being inflated? Are these accurate death counts?
The death counts that have been reported about COVID-19 from the get-go were fraudulent. I had said that publicly. I think that's the reason that these videos that we put out got so much traction. YouTube started censoring my videos. The first one, COVID-19 conspiracy ? Facts versus fiction. And the second one, toxicology ignored. Those two they left up. But the third one, which I outlined the corrupted science. The fourth one, when I started talking about some of the technology that's causing an exacerbation of the COVID-19. And the fifth one, deceptive agenda. When they hit 1 million views within 24 to 48 hours, they censored those videos, Facebook and YouTube. And basically, I exposed these numbers. We were talking about these numbers. Right now, as of 36 hours ago, I had a call with a friend of mine who said that his friend's son, 17-year-old, committed suicide. And they ruled his suicide as COVID-19. And that may sound ridiculous, but it's become a meme now. You fall out of a plane without a parachute, cause of death, COVID-19. You get shot in the head, cause of death, COVID-19. They cannot inflate the numbers enough to come even close to justifying why they've done this. So the numbers themselves didn't show it. Then they started inflating the numbers, and they still, with inflation, they can't show those numbers. The point is this. The studies go all the way back to 1984 that show that people, that with the mouse model, with the rat model, with the cat model, and then with human studies, that people that received the COVID and flu shot are testing false positive for COVID-19. I don't believe those are false positives. I believe those are accurate tests because of the past vaccinations that people have gotten that are now showing positive for COVID-19. We were injected with things that were positive for this type of a chimeric derivative. My question very simply is this. I want to see the data that shows the people that have been attributed to COVID-19 deaths, how many of them had the H1N1 flu shot, how many had the covalent flu shot, how many had the trivalent flu shot, how many had other adult vaccines, because then you'll start seeing a pattern that this was an introduction of A, B, C, and D, and now with one final trigger that's causing these people to die, attributing it to COVID-19, whereas in fact COVID-19 is probably the entire world's population has been exposed to it, but nobody's dying from it. Virtually nobody's died from it, and anybody that has died from it has died with significant comorbidities.
And see, that was my question, and you answered it. How many people you think actually died from it? And that is a powerful statement you just gave. Okay, so we talk about the death rates, but now let's talk about what they're doing, the plan, the lockdowns, the social distancing. We've heard so much about it. This is how we, what do they call, flatten the curve. This is how we keep people safe. But people are starting to notice. People are starting to question. I'm getting emails from people who are saying, well, this isn't making sense, Christina, because we're allowed to go into these crowded grocery stores and liquor stores and shop, but yet we're not allowed to go outside to a park or a beach. I mean, for goodness sakes, we just saw somebody get arrested for surfing on the ocean. How well do you think the social distancing, the 6 feet of separation actually works, and why are outdoor activities being restricted?
Outdoor activities are being restricted because they don't want people to see the truth. And as far as the social distancing, anybody, any scientist or doctor that says social distancing, what they're talking about is productive to prevent coronavirus, is either never graduated from medical school and doesn't have a PhD, is an illiterate, he's ignorant, or they are completely 100% fraudulent. They have already sold their soul out. They have no integrity, scientific or medical integrity whatsoever. There are only 3 things, Christina, that will spread through the air the way that they're trying to project: Ebola, tuberculosis, and smallpox. Everything else is particulate nature. So any type of coronavirus, any type of cold, anything that a person can catch, no matter what you say it is actually particulate. You sneeze, it's saliva, it's sputum, it's something that travels in the air and lands, has a viral load on it. It lands on an item, on an object, and then somebody comes along, touches that object, and then they pick up a piece of food or they put their hand in the mouth, and that's how it's transmitted. It's transmitted through direct contact. To say that social distancing is working is the biggest absurdity, and I cannot even believe that my children, my 15-year-old son Rahan and my 21-year-old son Abi, were laughing. They're like, and they're not doctors, they're not researchers. They're like, Dad, what's with this? Why are they saying this kind of garbage? There's nothing except for Ebola, tuberculosis, and smallpox that will spread that way. I think third one was smallpox. That's it. So anybody that's out there that's promoting that agenda, they are counting on the ignorance of the general public to be able to propagate that myth and that lie.
Well, and it's working with a lot of people. You see people walking around with masks on, gloves on, people avoiding people who aren't wearing masks. I mean, it's getting kind of scary out there, to tell you the truth. Okay, so let's talk mainstream media. They have been laser focused on attacking President Donald Trump and blaming President Donald Trump for the coronavirus. I mean, you see them. This is the same mainstream media that are showing videos of hospitals that are completely overwhelmed, and then come to find out these are hospitals in Italy. In the meantime, we have viewers sending us videos that are showing hospitals across the nation that look like virtual ghost towns because this big overwhelming population of coronavirus patients never arrived at those hospitals. What role do you think the mainstream media has played in all of this?
Earlier today, I was a witness in the International Tribunal Against Injustice, and this hopefully will be brought to The Hague as a war crime or as a crime against humanity. And they asked me the same question. Mainstream media, as far as I'm concerned, they're not complicit with this. They are the causative agent for this, and that they should be held accountable. And I'm not talking about financially responsible. I'm talking about criminally responsible, with not only the companies themselves, but the corporate heads and even the stockholders being held criminally responsible for the number of deaths that have occurred. And these deaths that I'm talking about, I'm not talking about the so-called COVID-19 elevated deaths or the numbers that have been inflated. I'm talking about the actual deaths that have been caused because of this mayhem. The number of child abuse cases that have skyrocketed since people have been restricted at home, the amount of depression that's resulted in suicides because people are scared and they're depressed, the amount of spousal abuse that's occurred, the number of people that have not gone to hospitals now because they're afraid of taxing an overtaxed hospital system, which is absolutely fraudulent. By the number of people that have not gone to the hospitals because they're scared that they're going to catch this imaginary COVID-19. Now, when I say imaginary COVID-19, there is a COVID-19, but what I'm talking about, the fear that has been propagated by the media, that's imaginary. There is no such thing as this virus that leaps 6 feet first, now 13 feet, and happens to be very, very intelligent and starts at Wuhan, jumps over Beijing and Shanghai and causes no problem, and then jumps into New York. This is completely fabricated. Issue that's happening in New York, those people are being injured. They're being injured because the normal protocols are not being followed. They're bypassing CPAP and BiPAP. They're jumping right into endotracheal intubation. And once you jump right into endotracheal intubation, you're going to cause other types of problems like barotrauma, with aspiration pneumonia, all sorts of other types of issues. But the problem is that even the types of things that they're doing, the doctors that I know in New York, and a lot of our patients are physicians. We have 20 to 25% of our patients are physicians. I have a number of doctors that I've either trained or that I've known from my own training or that are patients of mine in New York that are saying the same thing. This is not a viral injury. We don't know what this is. This is a hypoxic type injury. This is like altitude sickness. And the doctors that have spoken out to the media, they have now been or put out videos on YouTube. They've been censored and removed from those ICU units. The nursing staff that are in some of these hospitals, they are appalled. Yesterday, there was a release of a video that you may have seen where a nurse said that they are literally murdering people, not following the protocol that has been established. Respiratory therapists are not being allowed to help these people. Codes are not being responded to. There is something that is stinking in this whole story. And I believe it's because of the agenda that they're trying to propagate, which is a mandatory vaccine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. See, and I'm hearing that. I'm hearing a lot of that. I have two final questions for you. Number one is, what is the solution? What's the solution here? Coronavirus outbreak to all of this. What's the solution?
The solution is exactly what President Trump said, which is that we should have gone back to work by Easter. The problem that President Trump has right now is that he's surrounded by either liars or morons. Either way, you can't excuse this. And I don't think either one of these people are morons, so there have to be liars. They're creating an agenda to try to take down the economy. They're trying to hurt the entire world economy. But what's more sinister is their overall agenda. Their overall agenda isn't assassinating the economy. It's mandatory vaccines. It's mandatory vaccines with the rollout of some technology that is now, we're finding, causing an exacerbation of this issue. And that technology, every time I say this word, it gets censored. So can I say it, or am I being censored here?
You know what? I wouldn't say it because I've seen it. I've seen it being bleeped out. I've seen videos pulled down. So I wouldn't say the word.
But the bottom line is
it's a number and it's a letter, right?
That's right. It's a number and it's a letter. And people have said, well, Dr. Buttar, that doesn't make any sense. How can that cause this? It's not causing it. It's exacerbating it. It's not the spark that's causing the fire. It's the fuel that's being poured on the spark that's causing the fire. And that's the reason we're being kept home, so that we cannot see the rollout of this technology. And it goes more and more deeper than this, Christina, which we probably don't have time for. But my question is very simple to people. If this is a problem, why is it being censored? There are 5 videos that we've put together. The 6th one's going to be released tomorrow. All the stuff that you just showed has already been shown in those videos. My question is, if we're living in the United States, then why is this information being censored? That's the question that should be asked.
Absolutely. And when people get censored or suspended, they might be telling the truth, and it makes people scared. Okay, final question. You're very passionate. You've been very adamant in spreading awareness about coronavirus, about the movement. Explain why. Why are you so passionate about this? What motivates you?
My motivation is an oath that I made to the Creator many years ago, 20 years ago to be specific. My son was vaccine injured. He lost his ability to speak. To date, he's still the youngest formal witness before the U.S. Congress. He testified on May 6th, 2004 before Dan Burton and Diane Watson and the rest of the Congressional Subcommittee on Human Rights and Wellness. And you're talking to somebody that lost his faith in the Creator, that argued with the Creator to just, I condemned the Creator. I cursed at him. I bartered with him for my arm and my leg to give me back my son. And then I made a deal, and he gave me back my son. My son's extraordinary, world-ranked martial artist, phenomenal young man, chancellor's list, getting ready to graduate next year from University of North Carolina in Charlotte. And I'm just doing my job, which was I'm just paying back the oath that I took to the Creator. It's important that the rest of the world understands what's going on, how children have been maimed throughout the world under the pretense of public safety. And this outrage is a small word, but it's the greatest atrocity ever committed against mankind. It's taking what Hitler did, and it shows you this is only a fraction of what Hitler did. We have done, in the name of safety for children, we have created more problems. We have maimed millions of children. According to the Centers for Disease Control, their own data is 1% of the world's population has autism today. The world's population is 7.7 billion. That means that we have 77 million autistic kids on the planet right now. Wow. And in 1991, when the National Vaccine Initiative began, when the incidence of autism was only 1 in 10 million, today it's 1 out of 29. And people have the audacity to say that this is genetic. There is no such thing as a genetic epidemic.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so very much. It's great information. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being with us, Dr. Buttar. As always, I welcome you back. I welcome you for the debate. You're always welcome to come on the show for any reason. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christina.
Okay, I'm going to try to put things in perspective here with this big pile of rice. I bought this today. This is roughly 80,000 grains of rice. Okay, so this is about 3 pounds of rice here. So I'm going to have this represent the global population of roughly 8 billion. Okay, so we're going to try to do some math here. We're going to try to put things in perspective. Here we go. Every year, 16 million people die from cardiovascular disease. That's 160 grains of rice. From diarrhea, 16 million. Car accidents, 1.2 million. It's over 3,000 people die every day from car accidents. Suicide, 800,000. All right, now the big one. The one that made us shut down the entire global economy. The one that is affecting all of us, where we have lockdowns and, you know, we've got all these things going on. People getting arrested for playing baseball with their, you know, with their kids over at the park. This is the big one. The one that we all have to be afraid of. One. Okay, so this giant pile of rice here, the one that represents the global population of 8 billion people, all have to be put on lockdown. All have to have their rights taken away because of that 1 grain of rice. Those 100,000 people, which again, whenever anybody dies, it's sad. But guess what? People die from the flu every year. There's 150,000 people that die every single day. So if they're not going to put these numbers in perspective here, it means that they're doing a lot of fear-mongering, because most people don't look at it this way. Most people don't go out and buy 3 pounds of rice just to put things to scale here. So there's an agenda behind all this. Don't believe the hype. Go outside, get sunlight, enjoy life.
I hope you enjoyed that video, and I hope you also enjoyed the depiction with the rice, giving you a visual appreciation of how COVID is affecting us right now, how actually insignificant it is compared to what we normally experience. And of course, any death is a sad thing, but the point is that we've been having more deaths than that on a regular basis. It's part and parcel of that cycle of life, if you will. So it gives you that graphical representation so that you understand what's really going on. Now, there are a couple of other things that I wanted to point out on the video that you saw with Christina interviewing me. One thing that I said when I was talking about the incidence of autism in 1991, when the National Vaccine Initiative took place, I don't even remember saying the number as 10 million, but it's not. It's 1 in 10,000. I said 1 in 10 million. So that was incorrect. It's 1 in 10,000. And the second thing that I wanted to clarify was when I tried to say something, you could tell that it kind of got muffled, and then Christina couldn't hear me, and I tried a couple of times, and then it was just not clear, so we didn't make that point during the interview, but I wanted to cover that right now with you guys, and that was regarding the face mask. Now, what I want to tell you guys about the face mask is that when you're wearing a face mask, you're actually decreasing the flow of oxygen into your mouth, and we're a species that, or we're actually a physiological system that's dependent upon oxygen. Plants depend on carbon dioxide, which is what we breathe out, and then plants breathe out oxygen, which is what we breathe in. Well, when you've got a mask on, you're restricting the flow of oxygen. And when you're restricting the flow of oxygen, that causes stress in the body because you're not getting enough oxygen. You're almost having to fight for air. Well, that drives your cortisol levels up, which is the stress hormone, and that increases the sympathetic tone in the body, or the flight-fight response. And it also suppresses the immune system, because when you have increase in cortisol, increase in steroids, you have a decrease in the immune system. And of course, we want the immune system to be peaked if we're concerned about any type of an opportunistic illness. On top of that, you'll hear tonight on part 6. I'm not sure in which part it'll be, whether it's tonight's part or tomorrow's part or whichever part you'll hear it. There's 4 parts. You'll hear Dr. Mikowitz talk about what happens when you restrict the airway by having a mask over it. So you're again creating more stress. And remember that viruses are particles of DNA and RNA that exist inside our cells. So during a period of stress, during a period of toxicological onslaught, during a period of any type of significant physiological change, when the body is stressed, you'll have a release of these viruses, very similar to exosomes, which Dr. Kaufman has talked about. So essentially, some of us think that they're one and the same, but essentially you have an increase in the viral shedding, if you will, for a lack of a better term. You have an increase in the viral release in your system when your body's stressed. So now you're walking around with the mask on, you're actually going to increase the yield of the viral components that are being released from the cell because you're being stressed, because you're wearing something that's restricting your ability to breathe. And then the third thing is that you've already heard where people have talked about keep your hands away from your face, keep your hands away from your mouth. Well, not just think, you're wearing this mask, it's irritating, you're sweating, people are going to be adjusting the mask and touching their face, so that's another issue. And I want you to be aware that there are already people that have had accidents due to having what they call syncopal episodes, basically passing out because of lack of oxygen from the mask. There have been a number of documented accidents like that, and I believe even a fatality or 2 because of a person wearing a mask. So the recommendation of actually using a mask is detrimental, all right? It's detrimental. And in part 6, I talk about a few other things too, but I wanted to bring this up during Christina's interview, and I'll just say this last thing about a mask so that people can really get perspective of it, okay? When a surgeon wears a mask or a nurse wears a mask in a surgical suite when they're doing an operation, they're doing a hernia repair, they're doing a coronary artery bypass graft, a bypass surgery, or they're doing a hernia repair, or whatever they're doing. Why is the surgeon and why are the nurses wearing masks? Is it because they're afraid that they're going to get something, catch something contagious when they're doing the hernia operation, the hernia repair? No, it's so that the surgeon, if he's drooling or spitting or coughing or sneezing, he doesn't sneeze or cough or spit or drool into the surgical field, into the sterile field. That's why we wear the mask, to protect the sterility of the surgical field. So we're not doing it because we're trying to protect ourselves. We're doing it so that we protect the other party. In the Far East, when people wear the mask, there's a lot of places in China, Korea, Japan that they wear a mask. Well, they're not wearing a mask because they're afraid that they're going to catch something from someone. They're wearing a mask when they're sick so that they don't give somebody what they're carrying potentially. So again, the masks are designed to prevent us from creating a problem for other people if we're feeling ill or if we're in a situation where we can't drool or spit or cough or sneeze or something else into an area that could basically expose somebody else to what we're carrying. Now, what are we doing here? We're telling everybody to wear a mask, which is increasing the cortisol levels in the body, increasing stress, decreasing the airflow, causing an increase in release in the viral load that's being released within our system from the cells, because remember, viruses are inside the cells. And we're doing it all under the pretense of protecting ourselves, whereas in fact, masks are designed to protect the other party. So it's the most ludicrous thing, and the misinformation to tell you to wear a mask is actually creating a greater issue, a greater suppression of your immune system, which would render you more susceptible to any type of opportunistic pathogen, virus, bacteria, whatever the case may be. So I just wanted you to know that. Tune in for part 6 at 8 p.m. New York time for the first one. And remember, if you've never created your free dashboard at Advanced Medicine, then don't go there because you won't be able to get in there. Just simply go to the description of this video and click on the link, whatever that link is, and you'll get there. Don't worry about it. You don't need anything. Just follow the links and you'll get there. I promise. Just follow the links and you will get there. You can see where it says COVID-19 conspiracy videos. Click on that and it'll take you through the whole sequence and you will get there. You'll be able to see them all, including part 6. Now, the full part 6 may not be on the dashboard right now, but at least the first episode, because we're breaking up the YouTube components in 4 components. The first episode will be released tonight at 8 p.m. New York time. And also, the other good news is that all the videos, all the COVID-19 conspiracy videos will be available for download on the dashboard, on the Advanced Medicine dashboard. So download it and pass it to everyone you know. Download it on your devices, on your smartphones, on your iPads, on your computers. Post it anywhere you want. Change it around. Cut it up if you want. I don't care what you do. Just get the information out there. All right? You can all go there, download it, because they can't censor us if every one of us has those videos. So get those videos out there and get on YouTube at 8 o'clock New York time and watch the first episode of part 6. Thank you.